Welcome back to State of Texas In Depth. Today we are talking about the indictment of Governor Rick Perry and the aftermath. Joining us today are two leaders of our political parties here in Travis County. We have Michelle Samuelson from the Travis County Republican Party and Jan Swiffer from the Travis County Democratic Party. Thank you very much for being with us, both of you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very glad to be here.
So Governor Perry has made some big statements talking about how this is all chalked up to partisan politics, the indictment, everything that's followed. What do you have to say about that?
Well, he's not saying anything that anybody else isn't saying. I think we're seeing leaders across the country on both sides saying it really comes down to politics. Even Ross Ramsey of the Texas Tribune was saying that it really was about politics and not about so much about the legality of what he did. We're seeing places on both sides, Alan Dershowitz and David Axelrod coming down and saying that this was sketchy, that it didn't have a lot of grounding in any legal basis. I think we're going to see as we go on that it really is a politicization of what's been going on, and it's certainly the criminalization of a regular political act.
There have been some Democrats that have even said that perhaps the indictment itself is a little far-fetched.
It appears to me they haven't done their homework. The truth is, this isn't anything about politics. This situation was taken away from the Travis County DA's office. It was sent to a Republican judge who's the chief judge for the area. He appointed a Republican special prosecutor who is from San Antonio. He conducted an independent investigation. He convened a grand jury. The Travis County DA's office had nothing to do with it. Democrats had nothing to do with it. And it was that independent grand jury that came down with an indictment. So the people who are saying this is about politics are either Rick Perry and his cronies who are trying to deflect attention from himself, or people who haven't fully informed themselves of the process.
When you hear about that line of Republicans that are going, up the chain through this entire prosecution and indictment, I mean, that's a good argument for Democrats to say to Republicans.
Well, for one, a lot of our courts are run by Republicans, except of course in Travis County. But when it is going to be political like this, of course the first move that you do to make sure that it doesn't look like it's political is make sure that all of it gets deflected off of someone on the other party. That's politics 101. The special prosecutor in this case sought an Obama appointment. At one point he was rumored to be seeking the appointment of Attorney General of the United States. We know how politicized that particular position is and that department is. And so I don't think this is really about who's a Republican and who's a Democrat in those positions. The act of it itself is political. And that's what we're really having to look at. And when we go back to the very beginning, this starts with things that could have been prevented early on had politics not been the primary consideration of those in charge in Travis County.
But McCrum was a the special prosecutor was a consensus choice. He also was backed by the two GOP senators from Texas.
He was, but he himself seeking appointments from the Obama administration does make one wonder, where does politics lie? But at the end of the day, I don't think that that's what matters. It's how it's being capitalized on by the Democrats. Within an hour of the actual indictment being handed down, Battleground Texas sent out a fundraising email about this very thing. Politics is at play here, and it's going to be, because it's the governor of the state of Texas and the Public Integrity Unit is viewed as a political office, all of these things are going to play into it being a national political deal. And it already has been. We have national figures commenting on the left and the right, said as far left as Alan Dershowitz and as far right as Bobby Jindal making a statement on it.
Well, you talk about Democrats using this as, a political gain, but Governor Perry could use this as a political gain also. I mean, to say, eventually that Democrats are beating up on him, and who knows how this thing will turn out, but if it gets to campaign season and he's running, don't you think that that's a good platform to say, look what I did, look what I'm defending myself against?
Well, he won't be the first one. Governor Scott Walker in Wisconsin is already having to do the same thing, defending himself from political attacks designed to bring him down in the public eye. The timing of this is suspicious. Just as Perry's star begins to rise, the indictment is handed down smack dab in the middle of August when we're not paying attention to much else. It happened on a Friday night. It took us all off guard. We weren't really expecting to have to scramble and deal with it, and it was designed that way. It was meant so that we would have to scramble and kind of find our footing.
But and how do you look at that when not even Wendy Davis is really capitalizing on this? All she said is that this is a very serious allegation.
I find this all very amusing, this idea that this is political. As I say, it was a Republican judge who appointed a Republican special prosecutor who happened to have been put up for nomination as U.S. Attorney by Kay Bailey Hutchison and John Cornyn. These people are not Democrats. They are not inclined to try and help Democrats, and they are the ones who led to the indictment of Rick Perry. This is about one thing and one thing only. It is about the fact that Republican Rick Perry attempted to abuse his public power by seeking to derail an investigation by the Public Integrity Unit of some of his cronies who were trying to give kickbacks to some GOP donors through the cancer research agency called CPRIT. And that's what this is about. It's interesting because the governor and his Republican allies want to make this about one of two things. They either want to make it about the DA and her DWI, or they want to make it about politics. As we've discussed, it's not about politics. These were Republicans involved in this indictment. It's also not about the DA. There were two other Texas DAs who were arrested for DWI during Governor Perry's term. He didn't go after either of them. He went after Rosemary Limburg for one reason and one reason only, and that is because her Public Integrity Unit was investigating his friends for their potential kickbacks related to this cancer research agency.
Should she speak out?
Well, she's in a very difficult situation. What she did was terrible. That DWI was terrible, and there's no question about that. But she did the right thing. She pled guilty. She went to jail for 45 days, which is one of the harshest sentences you can get for first-time DWI without anybody being injured. She went through rehab. She apologized, and then there is a process to remove her from office, and there was a lawsuit filed, a removal lawsuit, and she won that lawsuit. So she's been through the ringer, and she has survived, and she's handled it correctly despite her terrible behavior at the beginning. This isn't about her. This isn't about her DWI. This is about trying to put pressure on her to resign so that Governor Perry could take control of that investigation. And when that didn't work, the allegations are that he tried to, in effect, bribe her to step down by offering her other jobs. That's what this indictment is about. It's about the threats and the coercion, and those are serious allegations. They're not political allegations, and anybody who thinks they shouldn't be fully investigated and fully tried is obviously deluding themselves.
Let me use Governor Perry's own words. He says, "I'm confident will ultimately prevail, that this is a farce of a prosecution will be revealed for what it is, and that those responsible will be held to account." Who is those responsible? Those people you've been talking about?
He's responsible. He is the person who threatened the DA. He is the person who made offers to her of other jobs if she would resign. He's the person who decided to try and defund this Public Integrity Unit in order to avoid the pressure on his friends for these allegations that they, in fact, were funneling money to Republican donors.
Who is he trying to hold responsible now, though? He's not coming out directly and saying DA Limburg or the Center for Public Justice. Who does he want to hold responsible? Out of that press conference, he seemed, very keen on going after someone when this all plays out.
I think he feels like this is a political attack, because why wouldn't it be? Said he's made no secret of the fact that he's running for president. He feels as if this was a political attack. From the very beginning, this had nothing to do with the grand conspiracy theory of what it had to do with his appointees in various offices or anything like that. None of the other DAs who were convicted of DWIs are in charge of the Public Integrity Unit, which is the people's unit to keep the government and the state government accountable. There have been moves for years to get the Public Integrity Unit moved out of the political office of the Travis County District Attorney. That effort has failed every time. Now we have a district attorney who has shown very bad faith in the way she's behaved, whether she's been through the ringer or not.
But is she behind that political attack that you're talking about? Because she recused herself in this case.
I think the people who are trying to protect her and rally around her, again, Battleground Texas, the Texas Democratic Party, I think this goes all the way up to the national level. We've gotten fundraising emails all weekend long from all of these entities trying to capitalize on this very thing. And it's not so much about Governor Perry, it's about making all of the Republicans on the ticket look bad in the fall because they have no talent on the Democratic ticket that can beat any of our guys come November.
None of those people or entities, not Battleground Texas, not any of the Democratic groups, had anything to do with this indictment. They had no control over it. As I say, it was a Republican judge, a Republican prosecutor, and an independent grand jury. None of those entities had anything to do with this indictment. The truth is that there were fundraising emails sent out on all sides about this, as there always are. Anytime something happens, people try to use it as a rallying cry to raise money. The Republicans do it, the Democrats do it. But that doesn't mean that the Democrats are responsible for this indictment. Of course they are not. There's absolutely no evidence that they are. And the people who are saying that are simply trying to deflect attention from Governor Perry's bad acts and are simply trying to get people to look the other way.
Thank you both for being with us. I appreciate it. All right, and we will have more of State of Texas In Depth every Sunday morning at 8:30. Meet the Press is up at 9. Have a great day.